here's the fundamentals / evangelicalism that I had. We also 1,000% believed in predestination.
Yeah.
Which that is one reason that I struggled witnessing to other people, because I was like, how are we predestined but also have to go save people?
Yeah.
How does this...
That does not make any sense.
So then you start making the mental gymnastics of, well, it almost becomes like time travel.
Yeah.
The time travel movies. Welcome back to Deconstruction Diary. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Rose.
We are two women who were raised in Young Earth Creationism. We are learning science, politics, and current events and history and all the things from a viewpoint of two women who have been raised in Young Earth Creationism.
Yep. Today, we are doing a little bit of something different. We're trying something different. We have a video that I have not seen. I'm going in cold. I think you've watched it.
I watched 13 minutes. It's a 3-hour video. I've only watched the first 13 minutes.
And we're going to do a little reaction to it.
Yes. This has a lot of detailed history. The video is from Matt Baker. He is the All About Charts guy. I think I'm saying it right. I will link this video and his channel down below. This is he has a PhD in religious studies, and he has created amazing maps of a variety of topics. And the one that he's going into today is the Christian Denominations Family Tree.
Yay.
Yay. And it's in family tree style, which my brain can really understand. And he talks so well. He's a little bit fast, but he talks very good.
So we're going to see what conversations this sparks. We were talking, we both mentioned how we learned the history of the church in this set of like the Pauline Christians, and then immediately straight down through the Council of Nicaea to the Christian church today, evangelicalism, fundamentalism, and then everything split off of that. Not the splits, like you don't learn that Catholicism and Orthodox came first.
Yeah, you don't learn that early Christian religion, that early Christianity, right after the tongues of fire acts. I can't remember the name of that thing. The event.
I think it's...
I feel like I need to know. We're going to say it a lot.
Okay, I will look it up. Keep talking.
Okay, so the revival thing that happened not immediately, but pretty quickly turned into the Catholic Church as church. Like, that was the first.
So that was the event of Pentecost.
Okay, at Pentecost, we were taught, correct me if yours was different, a very linear, so Pentecost happened, and then Paul, and then Council of Nicaea,
and then the church.
And then the church as we kind of know it today.
And then everything split off of the church. The one true church.
The one true church, the great church.
Yeah. So when I went through it backwards, by the way, I was literally chunking backwards 100 years at a time. It's a trippy way to learn this. Did not log a lot, but it was one of those like, well, where did he learn that from? Well, where did he learn that from? Kind of like daisy chains backwards. Like, the idea that Catholicism and Orthodox were older than evangelicalism was mind-blowing, because that is not at all how we're taught. That worked.
Yeah, it was almost like, here's this straight timeline of God with
I actually
Abraham.
Remember seeing that time.
Yeah. Moses, all of this, and then there's Jesus down here, and the Second Temple falling, and Pentecost, and then it just keeps going down to where we are today, and that Orthodox was like, we don't like that, and we're going to start our own thing. And that Catholics were like, we don't like that, we're going to start our own thing.
Yeah.
That's how it was described.
And
to me,
learning that's not at all how that went down was very jarring.
It is. It's very jarring, because it really causes you to struggle with that God-breathed, inerrant word of God concept.
I think in my case, I struggled more with because of how I deconstructed, because of the way I went down that road, I struggled more with the wait, this isn't true Christianity concept of like we weren't the ones who held the true line the whole time and everyone else split off of us. No, we're just an offshoot of an offshoot of an offshoot of what they were originally doing.
And that is, I can't.
And that was really difficult for me because of how I was deconstructing as a teenager, because it was very much ordered in a way of me looking for how what I'm doing wrong within the religion itself. Like that breakdown was it was crazy.
No, it makes sense because you're trying to figure out, am I doing it right within the box I've been given, thinking that the box you've been given is a direct descendant, basically,
Yeah.
of the Bible box.
And then so finding out that that's not true and that these other boxes are probably closer to being a direct descendant.
Yep.
All of a sudden, I'm like, I might need to be in another box. Like,
is there a box that is correct?
I mean, I didn't quite get to there yet in that process of is there a box that's correct? That I was still looking for the right box. And the more research I did and the more I learned about how like the way we're told modern Christianity comes about is not actually at all how it comes about, it became very concerning to me that I was in the wrong box. Like, very concerning to me that I was in the wrong box. And then, you know, breaking past that, I was probably 20, 21 years old before I broke into the realm of there is no box. The box is a lie.
Because that's when there's so many different boxes, you box hop. You church hop. Because it's like, well, which one feels right? Which one feels right? Which one feels right? And while there's an element of, yes, it should be a personal decision.
It is
as
absolutely.
opposed to this is the box and I must do what the box says. There's a weird dichotomy going on in the Christian church of,
well, because they want to deny it so hard. Yeah. They want to say we are not a religion, we're a relationship.
Because we don't have
your relationship with God is personal. They want that so badly that they're literally foaming at the mouth for it. But the reality of the situation is that the denomination on the church sign says a lot about you. Even if it was a personal choice, I can look at the denomination on the church sign and I know whether you're a what's it called? I know whether you're an Acts 2 person or not. I know whether or not you are post tribulation or pre tribulation. Yeah. I know, like, it says a lot about your personal relationship with God because it's a religion.
It's a box.
It's a box.
And you've labeled.
And, like, there's no getting around it. Like, that's what it is.
And then that it instantly, at least for me, created the judgmental of, oh, you belong in that box. You're wrong. Yeah, you may go to heaven, but you're still wrong on a lot of things and you're missing out on a lot. Oh, you belong in that box? Sorry, dude, you aren't even going to heaven if you're in that box. And that is
because they will foam at the mouth for a personal relationship, but at the end of the day,
there's a constitution that is not put in the Bible.
There is a religion there, and it matters when you're talking to other Christians.
It does. I mean, and you do see it when you become a member of the church and you're reading everything that you need to agree to. Or if you look at the About Me page on a church's website, it will list these are the theologies that we subscribe to as a group of believers. Basically.
And that matters to an extent.
It does.
Like it, and that is religion. Because that's a religious decision you're making.
Because you're choosing that
you're choosing the box.
You're claiming that these are the true forms of Christian belief, not these forms. So therefore, it's a description. It's a box. Yeah. Because if you don't believe in this box, you don't believe what this church believes. And that's a box.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
So let's start with the Lutherans, who obviously get their name from Martin Luther. 4 years after Luther published his 95 Theses, the Catholic Church declared him to be a heretic and put a ban on sharing his ideas. Those ideas can be summed up with the phrases sola fide and sola scriptura.
So that's triggering something that I remember. I want to make sure that I'm understanding it properly. The main idea of Protestants splitting or forming from Catholicism was because
He nailed those to the wall door.
but it was because any man can read in the Bible,
No.
not just the priest.
No, you're conflating the Waldensians with Martin Luther.
Okay.
So that was one of his points.
Martin Luther's. Okay.
But it was not the nail in the coffin.
Okay. So it was basically here's a point that I don't agree with you on.
He had 95 of them. And they were bullet pointed and listed in accordance to their importance.
I feel like I would have learned more about Martin Luther in school.
I feel like you and Martin Luther would be really good friends.
Cool.
Because he also enjoyed bullet pointed lists.
I love bullet pointed lists. Fun fact, my now husband, when we first met, I told him, just heads up, I really love spreadsheets. I shit you not.
You want to see my spreadsheets?
You guys want to see the spreadsheet I've made for this new podcast venture? It's so sexy. It is such a sexy.
It's a very nice spreadsheet.
Very sexy.
I will admit it's very nice.
Okay, so the Waldensians,
that was their biggest shtick, and they actually predate Martin Luther.
So that's what he's okay. So that's what he means by
yes.
That was a point of Martin Luther.
That was a point he made.
But you can argue that Protestant style faith existed before Martin Luther because of the Waldensians in 1173.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yeah, we'll just let him talk.
Okay. So this, like I said, this is not something that I learned in school like I think I should have.
Yeah, well,
I'm not saying we didn't talk about it, but
I think if you have an entire course dedicated to Bible, I feel like, this should be included in that course, and it definitely was
not.
I do remember them talking about it, but it was like this big.
Yeah, I remember it being there. I remember a question or two on a test.
Yeah.
But it was just glossed over. So this is going to be my first.
So I'm
really understanding.
I got a lot of this because a portion of my dad's family is Lutheran, and there was a lot of these kinds of debates happening at the dinner table of why is X wrong and Z right, and them throwing terms around that I didn't fully understand until I went and researched it for myself. Like my dad stressing so hard by faith alone, not understanding why he would just say that one line to my grandmother angrily. Like what the significance of that was, going back and researching it for myself and going, there's a whole pot over here that we need to talk about. But again, if they show you all of this, then it shows you that
men were involved.
And the evangelical church was not like a straight descendant of the Pauline church.
Right.
And the thing is, no, that's a completely different bunny trail. I don't want to go there yet.
Sola fide means by faith alone. You see, Luther was angry that certain Catholic priests were abusing something called indulgences. Basically, if you or a relative had committed a bad sin, you could just pay money to the church and get a special certificate that said, if you do such and such a good deed, your punishment in the afterlife will be reduced. Protestants argue that the only thing that makes a person right with God is having faith in Jesus, not doing good works. Sola scriptura means by scripture alone. According to Protestants, the Bible is the ultimate authority, not the Pope or the church or anyone else.
Okay. So my question so far with what we've watched is that this whole sola fide, by faith alone, is instead of paying a priest, what was discussed in the Nicene Creed regarding that?
I don't believe that was discussed.
Okay.
But it would have been a fairly, like, that would have been the bunny trail that I went down next. Is that would have been a fairly common feature of most religions that Christianity would have been interacting with. That would have been part of that handshake with the pagan religions.
The paying for your...
Not really, yeah, the I did something to piss this god off, so let me pay something or offer something to soothe my relationship with this god.
Okay.
That would have been part of that cultural handshake between the church and pagan religions it was surrounded by. And it was not backed up by anything Paul or Jesus said, and so Martin Luther had a bone or two to pick with it.
Okay. But it was... Okay.
Yeah.
My brain's trying to put together something that's not necessarily relevant to the video.
Fine.
But, or to the podcast. So we started with the Pauline Church. And the Pauline Church
went through several councils.
And basically spat out
The
Catholicism and an
Orthodox.
Orthodox.
Yes.
Okay. Which then created the hierarchy of popes and bishops. And
which
everything.
Also would be part of that cultural handshake with pagan religions.
But wasn't necessarily a structure set out in the Nicene Creed.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so Protestantism
does not
at this time is kind of like, whoa, y'all took this Nicene Creed, basically went a different direction with it, and I don't think y'all are doing it right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
So what happened was that some states adopted Luther's ideas and some did not, starting around 1521. Now, one thing I want to make clear is that the new Protestant states did not shut down all the Catholic churches and open new Lutheran ones. Priests and churches that were previously Catholic simply became Lutheran, and more reforms and changes were implemented over time. Two of the earliest German states to embrace Lutheranism were Saxony and Hesse. They eventually formed a military alliance called the Schmalkaldic League to defend themselves against the Catholic Emperor.
Hold on.
So this is where...
wait.
Okay.
We're now making religious militaries?
Yes. This is where...
That took a...
Well...
We're over there now.
It's kind of been happening. Like, this is where the history of the church and the history of the Western world becomes so deeply entrenched in each other and enmeshed in each other that you can't really talk about one without talking about the other. Like,
because as part of I am the leader of this land, is I am the leader of your religion. Starts.
Yeah, it kind of gets muddied. I want to say back in the Great Schism between Catholic and Orthodox, around the 1100s.
Okay.
And that's where the muddying starts. And then by the time the 1500s roll around, it's so deeply enmeshed in each other that, like, separating who's actually running the country, the Pope or the King, becomes
still a debate.
A nuanced political debate. Like, I'm sure he'll get into it because he's going to talk about it, the Anglicized Christian church, which is where the King of England said, yeah, I'm not going to listen to the Pope anymore. Well, prior to that, the King of England was under the Pope's control. So then it's who's in control of this country, the Pope or the King of England? And that's a nuanced conversation.
It is, because I'm imagining from a regular person's perspective, a regular citizen, I guess.
Yeah.
You need guidance in your life. And that is going to mean physically and spiritually. And if you're used to it being the same person, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah, I can see that being an issue.
It becomes this power struggle that it is constantly going back and forth. Who's in control of this? And like the Lutheran Church, you could phrase it in a way that the Lutheran Church gave the German states an out from underneath the Pope.
King? Oh, of the Pope.
So if I make Lutheran that doesn't believe in the papacy, because it's by scripture alone, then I no longer have to acknowledge the Pope as over me.
Which could then mean physically as well.
Yeah.
Like governmental.
Exactly. So it gives them more control over their state if they become Lutheran. It's one way of looking at it. There's more nuance to it. There's more things happening on the ground. But from like a bird's eye perspective, you can look at it that way. As
that is so interesting.
The reason why Lutheranism was readily accepted by certain princes was because it allowed them an out from underneath the Pope.
Now, what at that time he said was the Holy Roman Empire.
Yes.
So who was the governmental lead as well?
So there was a dual situation where there was the Holy Roman Emperor,
who was not the Pope,
who was like a king, who was not the Pope. And then you had the Pope, and yeah, they went back and forth for a good 400 years about who's actually in control here. And it's one of the little r reasons why crusades would happen, is that whole argument between the emperor and the Pope and who actually runs this country.
Power.
Yeah.
Power.
It's all about power.
It's all about power.
It's all about power.
Now, back to the Lutherans in Germany. During World War II, the majority of the Prussian churches supported the Nazis, due in large part to a movement known simply as German Christians. Martin Luther himself had been very anti-Semitic, so it wasn't hard for the German Christians to use his writings to support their cause. However, not all Lutherans in Germany were pro-Nazi. The Lutherans who opposed Hitler, led by Dietrich Bonhoeffer and others, eventually broke away and formed the Confessing Church, although Bonhoeffer himself was eventually captured and sent to a concentration camp, where he was later executed shortly before the end of the war. After the war, the Prussian church was reunited and purged of Nazi supporters.
So I missed why did the Nazi Allied Church split off? Just because
we haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay. He's got it.
Yeah, he hasn't talked to it yet.
Okay.
He hasn't talked to us about the split yet. No, I did not know. I mean, I guess it makes sense that Martin Luther would be anti-Semitic given the time frame and the location. That makes sense, but I did not. And I always knew there was a Nazi Allied church in World War II, and I always knew that it presented opportunities for nationalism through the religion itself. I did not realize that's how those opportunities were presented.
So with my family going from the non-denominational / Assemblies of God to cult,
yeah,
then my parents kind of took a harsh turn towards Judaism, Messianic, Gentile-loving Jews.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what bubble they reside in, what they personally think they reside in, I guess. And so that was always topic of conversation of how Christianity went through a large period in its history where they were anti-Jew.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what the Christians now have to fix, is the Crusades. And the Christians of the time being anti-Semitic. That was, I did know that. I didn't know specifically any of this stuff, but that was not impression. But that was the idea I was given. Was that for some reason, well, not for some reason, that's a different conversation of why, but that they went through a period of time very anti-Jew.
It was very much dismissed in my family. There was for reasons, for some reasons that will be obvious to people who know me and my family. It was very quickly swatted away, the whole idea of Christians being anti-Semitic. We glazed over that as fast as we could. Every single chance, every single question I had about it was just, it was a thing that happened and we don't talk about it anymore. And if I wanted more information about how like the Christian church was involved in Nazi Germany, I was met with a lot of hesitation and a lot of, why are you looking up that? Why are you looking into that?
Yeah,
Like,
I hear you.
and of course that just made me dive deeper into it.
Oh yeah. we did have the unique aspect of bringing that whole Judaism aspect when I was a teenager into our family for reasons that are important in this specific podcast, because it's a whole long story. But so that it kind of came with it, especially when my parents did leave for Israel for 11 years, and their main goal was to repair relationships from Christians and Jews. So
it was a big topic.
It was a topic. It had to be discussed, and it got lumped in the, well, humans make mistakes. Yeah. Do they now? Do they now? So I don't disagree. Of course,
a big honking mistake.
Of course, humans make mistakes. Of course.
Yeah. They also make mistakes when they're writing.
It's just down. It then creates a can of worms that is an uncomfortable conversation of, well, if humans can make these mistakes,
what other mistakes?
What other mistakes did they use? Or how do we know that we're not making a mistake? If we can be like, oh, well, they made a mistake. Well, who knows? We're not the ones making the mistake.
Yeah.
So.
And they didn't know they were making mistakes. So how am I supposed to know I'm not making a mistake?
Yeah.
Like,
they thought they were doing what's right. So what's different
about me thinking I'm doing what's right? And
it's
then my mom would
slavery. It was
and then
the same concept.
Like my parents would just, well, the road to hell is paved in good intentions, and then it's like, well, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
that's absolutely terrifying to think through.
That's not helpful.
Like, okay, so should I not have good intentions?
Should be a terrible person. So confused.
So confused. It's not helping.
Let's now look at the Anglicans. First of all, I should mention that some people don't actually consider Anglicans to be Protestants. They actually see them as being a sort of middle position instead, between Catholicism and Protestantism. This is because on the surface, their overall structure and traditions often look a lot like Catholicism. And when it comes to their beliefs, they don't really have a founding theologian, such as Luther or Calvin. But considering that the Anglicans split from Rome around the same time as the Lutheran and Reformed branches, I think it is fair to say that they are indeed a type of Protestantism.
Oh no, my family firmly stood on the ground for the longest time that the Church of England were Catholics. They were the same thing as Catholics, just named different.
Because
I don't know, but that was the firm standing.
Oh, but the Church of England does not recognize the Pope.
Right? It does not.
It recognizes the King.
Right.
As the leader of the church.
You're
so
correct.
So that's the
I guess that's the thing that
difference.
makes it Protestant, but my family would fight you on that. Like, this is
like,
wild for me to see them.
Even on the papacy point, where they believe in the papacy. Anglicans?
Well, like my parents would argue that because they see the king as the pope, they still acknowledge a pope, and therefore they're still Catholic.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They're still following the same.
Yeah,
okay.
Like
gotcha.
Yeah, like they would fight you on that.
Whereas the Lutherans, there isn't a one person at the top anywhere.
Correct. Like,
okay.
So that's the mindset. In order to be Protestant, you can't acknowledge any pope. Whereas I guess what he's doing is, in order to be Catholic, you have to, or Protestant, you can't acknowledge
the papacy.
The pope.
Yeah, you can't acknowledge the papacy.
Which is different from the way I'm used to looking at it.
Well, because we also were taught it from indoctrination.
Oh yeah,
the one true church.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not from a family tree.
We definitely have to knock the Anglicans off there. They can't be part of the true church.
Mm-mm.
Now, as the English started to develop colonies all over the world, they took Anglicanism with them. Initially, churches in colonies were simply part of the Church of England, but over time they gained independence. Of special note is the Episcopal Church in the USA. Basically, when the American colonies split away from Great Britain, the Anglican Church there split away as well, becoming known as the Episcopal Church. Episcopal meaning led by bishops.
So the Episcopalian Church
Is the Anglican Church of the United States.
and looks at the Archbishop of Canterbury,
Yes.
but not the King of England.
No, they don't look at the Archbishop of Canterbury because they split from the Archbishop of Canterbury during the Revolutionary War.
But if they're still Anglican, who
So
do they look at?
They're our
Their own
we have our own Archbishop.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I didn't know that Episcopalian
Was
was
Anglican.
Anglican.
I knew that,
I'm sure you did.
but that's
Because to me, it was they're all wrong.
because
Why learn about them?
I got in trouble for going to an Episcopalian church. Well, not like in trouble,
But yeah.
But I told my mom, I was like, the closest church is an Episcopalian church, and I went there on this Sunday because I was, and she looked at me like, okay, I would have rather you stayed home with your Bible.
Okay, let's now look at the Reformed branch, which is strongly associated with the French theologian John Calvin. In fact, the word Reformed is often used interchangeably with Calvinist. Now, most people associate Calvinism with its purest form, also called five-point Calvinism, and often summarized by using the acronym TULIP.
I learned this. Hold on a second. I learned this. I need this crap. Oh my God.
So the Reformed branch turned into Calvinism, or was where Calvinism came from? Because we're Reformed now.
The Calvin invented Reformation.
Oh, okay. So
That's a really bad sentence.
But so
that's a really bad sentence. But
Reformed and
ultimately, that's the idea.
Calvinism are interchangeable.
They can be.
Okay.
The Calvinism we're familiar with today in the United States is an extremely strict version of what would have just been loosely called the Reformation Church.
Okay.
Back in the time of John Calvin.
Okay.
Was it John? John. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he had some things to say. He's kind of kicked it off. And the Calvinism we know today is everything that man said is the literal truth. And it's extremely strict in comparison to where it started.
Gotcha.
And has become a cult.
Fundamental. Yeah. So it's kind of like what Martin Luther was to Catholic Church. John Calvin's this other person that's like, no, I don't like any of that. I'm going to make a spiel about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Create a new thing.
So any of those symbols there at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
I was allowed to go to those churches.
Okay.
Without question. Like, those were all safe.
Okay.
That's what my mom, I just now realized it was all Presbyterian churches. My mom was just like, yeah, that's fine. It's Presbyterian.
And so Presbyterian is from
Scotland.
From Reformed.
Yes. Like a
John Calvin.
No, from Reformed from Anglicanism.
Right.
Yeah.
Reformed by John Calvin. The Reformed section, the orange section.
Yes, the orange section.
Is Reformed, and that is come to be by John Calvin.
Ultimately, yes.
Yeah. And then Scotland came up.
Don't tell Scotland that, though. Scotland will turn inside out if you say that John Calvin was sure.
It's in the orange section.
You're not wrong. I'm just saying, like, don't tell the Church of Scotland.
So the Church of Scotland does not use the term interchangeably.
No.
They do not say we're Calvinists.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. But that's where it came from.
I mean, ultimately
it's in the orange section.
It's all in the same pot.
Okay. So in the Church of Scotland, those settlers brought Presbyterian to America.
Yes.
And then they did all those weird mergers.
When it comes to the Anabaptists, one of the practices that they were most concerned with was baptism. In the Catholic Church, as well as in the Lutheran, Anglican, and Reformed churches, Christians are usually baptized as infants. The Anabaptists thought this was unbiblical because infants are not able to understand what is happening or to make a conscious commitment to follow Jesus. Instead, they felt that people should only be baptized once they were old enough to understand and believe and make the decision for themselves. The initial Anabaptists therefore baptized themselves again, which is why they ended up being called Anabaptists, meaning re-baptizers. However, the original Anabaptists simply called themselves brethren.
I remember this confusing me so much in school. I remember, they said Anabaptist, but you still baptize people. So you're really not against baptism. You're just against baptizing the babies.
Yeah.
But you're still going to call yourself Anabaptists, but you're Baptist.
But it's so I have a question. Why is it Anabaptist and not anti? Or is it the same? Is Anna and anti?
I guess that's a good point.
Because I thought he was saying anti, but it's very clearly A Baptist.
Yeah. I have no idea. I just remember getting that mixed up.
So far, everybody, Catholics, Lutherans, Anglicans, and Reformation peoples are all baptized as an infant?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What did I miss? Like, even still?
Yes.
The main founder of Quakerism was a man named George Fox. When he was brought before the courts on charges of blasphemy, he told those gathered that they should tremble or quake at God's word, probably a reference to Isaiah 66 verse 2, which says, "But this is the one to whom I will look, to the humble and contrite in spirit, who trembles at my word." This is why the followers of George Fox became known as Quakers, even though their official name is the Religious Society of Friends. One of the distinct aspects of Quakerism is their emphasis on the inner light, or the ability of every person to experience God from within. This is why traditional Quaker meetings are usually unplanned and involve a lot of silence, so that each person can listen carefully to God's voice within themselves.
That's meditation.
Group meditation. Fun fact. The one and only person that I witnessed to, you've heard the story before, the one and only person that I witnessed to as a Christian, what I mean by that is led them through the prayer of salvation to receive salvation of Jesus Christ and go to heaven. Only person I did that with was a Quaker.
They were probably like, "Oh, she's so sweet. I'm just gonna go along with it."
It was a little girl my age. We met at the beach and we were swimming in the ocean, just the two of us. And we were like, how old was I? 12, 13, 11, 12, 13, somewhere around
about
there.
Right.
And we got talking and I was like, okay, I've been preparing for this my whole life. And I don't remember how we got on to the conversation, but she did the prayer of salvation with me there in the water at the ocean. And then I went up and asked my parents if I could go to her parents' hotel room. And they're like, I don't know. We don't know. We just met them. I was like, but they're Quakers, so they still believe in Jesus. It's gonna be fine.
Well, that's the really dangerous part about this kind of stuff, is that your child gets lined up that way. Yeah, they're complete strangers we just met, but they believe in Jesus, so they must be fine.
Yeah. Even though I knew it was the wrong kind of Christianity.
The wrong kind of
Christianity. I knew that Quakerism was not
which is bizarre because, well, I mean, they do meditate and that's a problem. It can't be happening.
They're not part of the one true church,
which is the Assemblies of God, apparently. In your case.
Yeah. Not at that point.
Not at that point?
Closely. We started at the Assemblies. No, yeah, you're right. It was at that time.
Right. Because I was going to say, because we never had problems with Quakers.
We didn't have problems with them.
I mean, in the sense that we didn't think Quakers were going to hell or were the wrong kind of Christian. They were just very weird. Yeah. They were just Those are those odd people doing their odd thing over there in the corner. They'll be fine. God still loves them. They still believe in Jesus.
I think it was
It's so condescending. So condescending.
I feel like it was
I
almost
feel terrible, but like repeating some of this stuff. But
that's what we thought.
that is how I was raised. Like it's fine. Jesus still loves them anyway.
And
Like,
I think that's kind of how it was phrased is they know about Jesus, but we're not quite sure that they've prayed the prayer of salvation.
yeah, because you had that weird evangelical thing where like you have to pray the right prayer.
You have to pray the prayer of salvation to actually accept Jesus into your heart to actually go to heaven. And so some of these other groups, while they believe in Jesus, they may not have asked him into their heart.
And see, like, that's a personal thing for us. Like, you could be going to the right church and saying the right thing, and you can even say the prayer of salvation, but what matters is what happens in your heart in the dark, alone in your room at night.
That was definitely a part of my upbringing.
So if you did that without the prayer or the church, then you were still saved.
Yes, that was definitely still. It was the framing of their religion might not offer them the knowledge to even know that they have to pray the prayer of salvation, even if it's in their dark closet at home or in their bathtub when they're 3.
And that for us is where the Calvinism really kicked, because that's not even our problem.
There's that argument.
That's
definitely the evangelicals.
It is. My only problem is my own soul, and it is predestined whether it is saved or not. And it's predestined whether your soul is saved or not. So that's not even my problem. Like,
yeah. And
that's a you problem.
Evangelical it is our job to tell everybody about the prayer of salvation as an encompassing concept. It is our job to make sure everybody knows.
Yeah, that's where I don't think I ever witnessed to anyone.
I only did it that one time, and it was
because so much of the focus was on, are you doing what's right with your soul first? You fix that shit. That's your problem. That's your business, and you stay in your business.
that element was brought into anything after salvation.
Yeah.
Then you need to get your own shit together before you can even try to help someone else.
Right.
But that was after salvation. Salvation mattered more than anything.
Yeah.
Even other people that you don't.
And that's where the Venn diagram between evangelicalism and fundamentalism splits.
Yeah, that's a part that does not
like literally over. Like one of like maybe 3 things.
Well, especially because I consider myself being an evangelical fundamentalist. Yeah, I mean that's where they cross.
Like that's a little tiny sliver.
I'm
right
there,
yeah.
Because I was raised with all fundamentalism and all evangelicalism.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
Apparently, that's a small group of people too.
Apparently, it's not.
On the left, I have the 10 largest Christian communions worldwide. Basically, each church icon represents 10 million members. So, as you probably know, the Catholic Church is by far the largest Christian group in the world, with around 1.35 billion members. Second is the Eastern Orthodox Church, with 200 million. With one exception, the rest of the list is all Protestant. So, coming in at number 3 is the Anglican Communion, followed by the Reformed churches, the Methodists, and the Lutheran World Federation. All of these groups have around 80 million members. We then have the Assemblies of God, which is a Pentecostal denomination that I've not yet talked about. We probably won't get to them until episode 7. Then we have the Oriental Orthodox churches. Remember, these are different from the Eastern Orthodox churches. We talked about them in episode 1, and they include the Coptic Church and the Ethiopian Church. Finally, we have the Baptist World Alliance with around 48 million members, and the Seventh-day Adventists with 22 million.
Wait.
Well, it's smaller than I realized.
It's larger.
I would have thought we were at the top with the Catholics.
Oh,
That's what I felt.
Well, because around here,
That's
it
what
is.
Mhm.
That's what gives that illusion of this is a regional problem. This is just
Mhm.
in my area. This is just a problem here.
I thought everybody in my circle, like everyone at dance, I just assumed we're all
Assemblies of God.
or on the same. At the time, I would have said that because I didn't think of assemblies
right.
as its own thing.
But like that same
evangelical,
doctrine,
fundamental.
yeah. Which I mean, especially in dance with the group we were with being evangelical and being focused that way, it was awkward for me not being raised that way and having that if they're going to be saved, it's already predestined and they're going to be saved no matter what. To hear some of the evangelical stuff that would come out and be like, we've got to do, and I'm like, why? That's not my business.
So here's the kicker. Here's the fundamentals / evangelicalism that I had. We also 1,000% believed in predestination.
Yeah.
Which that is one reason that I struggled witnessing to other people, because I was like, how are we predestined but also have to go save people?
Yeah.
How does this
That does not make any sense.
So then you start making the mental gymnastics of, well, it almost becomes like time travel.
Yeah.
The time travel movies. Like
you start to fix in your own paradoxes.
Yeah. Like this person is predestined to learn about Jesus and accept them into their heart.
Through me.
Exactly. But in order for them to do that, what they are predestined to do, I am then predestined to witness to them. So if I don't witness to them, even though I'm predestined to, so I'm not sure how I cannot do what I'm predestined to, they may not do their predestined salvation. And that then sounds like free will, and then I'm very confused.
I'm the corkboard in my brain is going crazy right now.
You then it's circular.
It is. It's very circular. It is very circular.
It makes no sense. How can you be full predestination and full evangelicalism? I don't understand, but that's what I was.
Yeah.
That is what I was.
That's very confused. I mean, I remember being confused, and I remember just being like, okay, well, that's what they do. So that's what we're just gonna go along with it. It's fine. That's just how they do things, because that's how I was raised. But I remember like some of the talks that the leadership would give, and I would just be like, why is this my problem? What happens to them with their souls is their problem.
Right? That's what one would think. But it is now our mission and our burden to share.
They have a Bible. That's all I need to give them.
And that is what really made me scared of having my quote mission field be anything outside of the church.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. So I needed to at least be able to converse with people that we both had the basic understanding and didn't have to hash out those details, because I couldn't hash them out.
Because it don't make any sense.
It don't make sense.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel that deeply in my soul.
Mm-hmm.